tie with the phone issues here.
Are you doing it sideways?
Yeah, but it keeps slipping.
Okay, I meant wrong ways. I was trying to be kind.
Juan Avalos, you are first. How's it going? Big John, Clyde. I get my glasses on so this will be easier. I'm not using my computer this time. Cameron. Here, I'll show you guys something. Ricky Bobby. I just watched that movie. We are working on a vlog. Probably thinking, man, this dude never works. He's home again. I'm just here for a 12-hour break, and then I'm going home. Or, I mean, going back on the road.
That seems about right, actually.
Yeah. Salty Pirate, what's up? Mr. Best, how's it going? Nathan Eberl, I don't know how to say your name. I apologize if I'm slaughtering it. Stu Manchun, Nittany Lion, Jeff Beard, Ricky Bobby, if you're not first, you're last. CPAP doesn't like me because he waited until I left the Petro in Effingham, then he pulled in to get fuel and coffee because he didn't want to hang out with me.
Oh, you know.
I know, I'm not the easiest person to get along with. Light Bright, what's up? Hey, do you have 15,000 I could borrow so I can get that truck I applied for MHC camera there in Springfield? Is that what they wanted down, Daniel? Is that why you called me earlier? I apologize. I was hanging out with the family when he called earlier. Nocturnal One, what's up? Well, CPAP, I knew where you were at. I tried calling you and it went directly to voicemail. And I figured, you know what, you're on that stretch of 57 where I don't have a signal, so I figured you didn't either. And then after that, I was home, so. Big road, little truck. Oh, you're just kidding, Snarly. Just put the Salty Pirate, just put the daughter to bed. I'm heading that way soon, up at 3 a.m. to deliver my load at 6. Where are you going, Mr. Pirate? And no, I didn't call you, ask for money. I was going to tell you about it. Is that what they wanted, though, Daniel? Is 15? Rick Souza, what's up? Why does that name sound familiar? But we're here rendering a video. They're kind of out of order. Should have been first, but I didn't want to make a 45-minute long Indiana Jack movie because I'm not as good as Indiana Jack. So figured if you're going to watch me for 45 minutes, it'll be this way, all right? 15K for new 990 sold. I wish. Don't forget to turn the clocks back. That's true. Yeah, that's they wanted 15,000, which is 3%. Let's talk about that, Daniel Adami. Those of you who don't know, Daniel applied for a loan on a truck, and you know, it's different than getting a loan for a car. The better your credit score, the less money you have to have down. For example, I have good credit, so my trailer I didn't need any money down. However, I'm paying for it on the interest rate. So a lot of people want that money up front, you know, basically to keep the balance at a certain amount. And getting a commercial truck loan is not the easiest thing in the world to do, no matter what your credit score is. And usually you got to settle for something that's not as good, like I did with my Peterbilt, or you got to go into an expensive lease, you know, like some of the Schneider guys do, you know, and that's why the option's there, because it's an easy option to get a brand new truck right off the bat, but you're going to pay. It's like, instead of 15 grand down, though, you're going to pay $1,000 a week. You know, see how that works. Are you talking about the W990? No, I'm not, but It's okay, so I'll be going with their full maintenance lease truck. That's probably not a bad idea, because if you're not responsible for breakdowns, that'll be beneficial. I mean, Jeff has always preached that. Big Rich, what's up? I have an 820 credit score, says Rick. Would it still be hard to get a brand new rig? It depends on where you go, Rick. A lot of places are going to want a certain amount down. That's a really good credit score. I know that Freightliner, I have just a little bit below that. I know that Freightliner offered to put me in a truck 0 money down. However, my payments would have been like $3,000 a month, and with the way the rates tanked at Landstar when I was there, not as good as they are now. Survival, although I sit there and say survival would have been hard, but what made some of the survival difficult was that the Peterbilt was costing me money on the maintenance end. So I got a $60,000 truck, but add another 20 in repairs. Whereas if you have a brand new truck, you've got the warranty, so you should only be paying that truck payment, for the most part, maintenance. Big Rig Radio Network, how's it going? And and Daniel, I know what you're going through. I had this should make you feel better, Daniel. When I applied to get a new truck, they wanted like 10 down, and I had really good credit and a credit history with another truck. So don't feel bad about that. Some things happen for a reason. I went to a used truck because the payments were going to be more manageable, and my trade-in for the Peterbilt was enough. And basically all it did was pay for the APU. So, which I'm having, by the way. Truck Review Channel, what's up? 19 Freightliner Cascadia Evolution. Are cat scales still $10? No, they're $11.50 now. They keep going up. You would have had warranty on that 680. You got to be careful with the warranties, guys, because the warranties start from when the truck was put into service. So if it's 2014, mine was actually put into service August of 2013. And, I thought I had a full year on warranty, and I didn't. I only had like 6 months. Went to the snowmobile show. Now I got to get out there and truck it up. Did you spend a lot of money, Jeff? You put over $3,000 in your Pete last month. Salty Pirate, I feel your pain, man. I've got a couple of things going on with the truck that I'm kind of worried about. Plus, in Missouri, we pay property taxes, and that plus my apportioned plate are all hitting me at once, and it comes out to about $3,000 for the two things. Plus, I got to get my truck looked at because my antifreeze is not the right color. So, am I going to watch the new Queen flick? I'll watch it if it's on TV or DVD, but I'm not going to go to the theater, Queen's okay. I mean, it's a little bit more mellow than what I'm used to. Do you guys ride with Air Ride that have Appway thingy to avoid cat scales? Big Road, Jeff, Gear Grabber, Harold, and James all have onboard scales on their trucks. I think I would have gotten it for the 5K down. I believe I would have had a 2-year warranty if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, Jeff. Although it's not drinking any oil or antifreeze, so this truck doesn't drink a bit of oil. Knock on wood. I put one of those weight gauges in my Cascadia. Very seldom have to scale now. Worth $90. Says Clyde. Yeah, that's probably a disadvantage of the orange there, Clyde, is, you know, you can get that for your trailer. But, you know, what's funny is I think Harold's got one, and he's constantly, like, checking it with the cat scale. So, Truck Review channel holds it light. Yeah, you know, like in the Peterbilt, I avoided heavy loads like the plague, and a lot of it was because my truck would overheat pretty easily. But this truck, you know, I'm not afraid to haul a heavy load. It just depends on the terrain, you know. Warranties give false sense of security, says James, if you don't have money to fix worst case. The way I treated my Kenworth, you know, James brings up a point, is that your truck has to give you a good certain amount of time before it needs something major, so you can, like, build up that maintenance fund. So you almost want to save 20 grand so you can have 10 grand to put down on the truck and another 10 just in case something happens. Now you can have a line of credit and that'll help, but if you use up that line of credit, $80,000 truck is now an $80,000 truck. Now, what was happening with my Peterbilt was that, you know, it was when I was at Snyder, and the Snyder guys, the Snyder finance guys would have to run a little bit harder. They'd have to put the loads together better, you know, and they needed to milk every mile, every minute that they had. It's a different way of running, right? I was running differently than those guys. So, but my truck, if you counted the payments and the maintenance and everything else that I had put into that truck, it was the same amount of money as the Schneider Finance guys, except I wasn't running like the Schneider Finance guy. You have to survive the time in the shop. That is correct. I said, tell me how much weight I have. 70 is 34K. Now, the problem with that, Salty, is if you get a load that's heavy on the tail. This happened to me. I picked up a load in Muskogee one time, 45,000 pounds glass bottles, right? Took it to Springfield from Muskogee, scaled it out at the pilot there in Muskogee, put it in the sweet spot, which is the 11 o'clock mark on the second tire, on the rear tire, and scaled it. It was perfectly balanced. I dropped the trailer at the yard there at Transland, and then I picked up a load that was 38,000 pounds. 2 stops, one going to Amarillo, one going to Waco, and got to the Joplin scales, and I didn't scale this because, you know, I was still new, and I'm like, 38,000, I should be good, so I put in the sweet spot, right? And my drive gauge showed good. Now, what was happening is I get on the Joplin scale, I'm 2,000 pounds over on the trailer. Why? Because the weight was lifting up the rear end, therefore bringing up the weight off the drives a little bit, so it gave me a false reading. And I didn't have a trailer suspension gauge. You know, and the first thing that came out of that DOT cop's mouth was, why didn't you scale it? And I told him. And that cost me like $200-something. Provost, what's up? Provost and I had a really good conversation on Zelle this morning. You bought heated helmets, Jeff? Oh, man. That's some serious snowmobiling. But one of these days, maybe I'll get a trailer, you know, to gauge. But for now, I don't do a whole lot of heavy loads, and when I do, they're just standard, you know, 22, 24 pallets. You know, you can't screw it up. And what got me on that one time I was overweight was that it was a 2-stop load, and of course, first stop had more freight than the second stop. So, does a coolant bottle look like a chocolate milkshake? It's a very dark red. Nailed it. That's what Provost and I were kind of talking about today, about the EGR cooler. And so what I plan on doing is next time I'm home, I'm going to take the truck to Kenworth and then have them test antifreeze and see if that's what's going on. But one of the signs, according to people I've talked to, that an EGR cooler is about to go out is you're putting antifreeze in and you don't see it coming out. And it's not doing that. I put like maybe half a gallon once every 2 months, but I don't have any leaks either. So so I'm prepared if the expense comes, but November is not going to be a good profitable month for me, simply because between the property taxes, the proportion plate, and
all those damn Scorpios.
November. So. Cute cat. The cat in my thumbnail. He's an a-hole. His name is Thor. We have 3 cats. One likes to howl to go outside, and we don't let him out at night because the owls don't want him to be eaten. And then another one's really fluffy. She's okay. And then this one, he hates me. Like, I tried to pet him. He's on my computer bag, and he glared at me and was going to attack me. But isn't that more of a head gasket? I don't know. Nailed it. Now, my oil on the dipstick is normal looking. There's no water mixed in with it. Yeah, I know, Zach. Yes, Juan. Owls have to eat cats out here. My sister, she lived out there in Highlandville, and her neighbors told her, you got to watch the, if you ever seen an eagle in real life, in person, pretty big birds, and we've got some owls that are pretty big. Loosen up the coolant cap so the system pressure can't rise. So basically the truck's going in the shop. There's a couple other things I need to do before winter, and we'll see what's going on. And I'm afraid that expense is just going to be a lot. The truck's at $505,000, so that also makes me nervous, because what mileage do most warranties go up to? 500,000, right? So it makes me think that a lot of stuff is engineered to go up to 5,000. Perfect example. My APU, the HVAC breaker keeps tripping, right? So I was looking at my book, and normally it'd be under warranty, and the warranty is up to 4,000 hours. Guess how many hours are on my APU? 4,020. So it's like, should have had that looked at a month ago. You're probably getting a slight seepage from the oil cooler. It only takes a few drops to start the color change. And let me guess, it's like a 5-digit number to fix, right? Right, Jeff? You sell it to Daniel and buy a 990. How long has he been doing it? Coolant cap helps to get off the road. That's head gasket pressurized coolant from combustion. I started noticing the color about a couple months ago. About 3 to 4K. Yeah, awesome. Knowing Kenworth, it's going to be a lot more, right? I believe Ike Stevens was talking about sacrifice. If that's a $4,000 repair, it looks like I'm going to be out for a couple of months. We'll get her done. Daniel hates my truck. Or are you talking about Jeff? I'm getting criticized for getting a ProStar. You know, we live in a world, you know, I remember there was somebody giving Ike Stevens crap that he didn't have a real Peterbilt because it had the fuel efficiency engine in it. That's how judgmental people can be, you know, it's like you're not driving a real truck. You're not doing this. You're not doing that. You're not a real driver. Like Jeff's been criticized for not being a real trucker or a real owner operator because he had a lease truck, you know, and it's just like he's running a business with the truck. I mean, what more definition do you need? It doesn't matter if it's a ProStar, a Volvo, a Peterbilt, 389, 579. It doesn't matter if it's a show truck or just a tool truck. Doesn't matter, you know, it's just, you know, I'm a live and let live person. If you want to have a certain kind of truck, more power to you, man. You know, and I don't judge people based on their trucks. Well, I really don't. And I mean, you know, now would Jeff's truck work for me? No, because I have too much stuff, so I wouldn't have any room in that sleeper. But for what Jeff needs it for, it works perfect because, you know, it's meant for short haul. You know, and if out of all the ProStars in the world, he got probably one of the best deals you can get. So I think he did pretty good. You know, and Heath Close just got one, and I think he did pretty good. He just cut his costs in half. Travis, I agree with that somewhat. Usually it's the computer stuff or maybe the turbo or something that goes out on these trucks. I love the color, Big Road. I agree. I love the color of Jeff's new truck. Yeah, everybody thinks they know how to run Jeff's business better than Jeff does, says Heath. Yep, I agree. I will take anything except a Volvo, says Travis. Here's the thing, guys. Here's when you're a brand new owner-operator, okay? And these lease companies like Schneider Finance or Prime or whatever, that's how they get you, because right away you're being put in a brand new truck, right? Each truck has its own quirks. Each truck has its own positives and negatives, depending on how you run your operation, where you run your operation, what kind of loads you run, what kind of freight you're running, what areas you're running. And what works for one person doesn't work for another. And then you also got, like, you know, this kind of truck might have a tendency to have this go wrong, and this kind of truck might have a tendency for this go wrong. And, you know, for example, Volvo engines, you got to take to a dealer. PACCAR engines, you got to take to a dealer, right? Cummins or Detroit, you can take it pretty much anywhere to get them worked on. You know, if you're running heavy haul, you don't want the heavy duty series, you know. You know, gear ratios, comfort level, it's an assortment of different things. And then once you got the truck that to work for you, I mean, you're not going to get the first truck. Your first truck is usually not going to be the one that you wanted right off the bat. I know mine wasn't. And I'm kind of in the middle where it comes to, is the truck a tool or is it something that, you know, you want to pride and polish, you know, like, you know, hell either. And there's nothing wrong with taking pride in your ride. and I think that it might help you in some DOT situations. But for the most part, your first truck is not going to be your dream truck. You know. Right. You're right, Spooby. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of business. Exactly, Big Tex. I don't know why no one can understand that. I don't know why that we can't live and let live society because, you know, people cut each other down for the kind of freight they haul, for the kind of truck they drive, for the way they handle their business. Yet no one's educating. You know what I mean? Like, okay, instead of telling me my truck sucks, why don't you tell me why my truck sucks? And then you go, well, PACCARs have a tendency to do this, and your cost per mile is going to be higher, and blah 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 blah. Do it that way, but not like, oh, because Kenworth sucks. I mean, there's a car hauler and YouTuber that hates anybody that's not hauling cars. He calls us dumbass freight haulers, right?
Which one would that be? All of them?
Yeah, and it's like that kind of division, and like you read the comments to his videos, and people are like, oh, trucker, unless you're hauling cattle, I mean, stupid stuff like that. And it's like, who cares? It's and don't tell me about the brotherhood of the old days, because the old days it was the same way. The Teamsters hated the independents, and if you saw a guy driving a roadway truck and you were independent, you hated that guy because he didn't have a sleeper and he made more money than you. And it's just like drivers have always been judgmental on each other, and with so many different ways to run so many different businesses, it's not a one size fit all. Cummins can go to Peter Junk, Kenworth, Volvo, International, Mom and Pop Shop. Cummins win-win. We run legal and we pay after every load on time. Right, business partners? Yeah. That definitely makes it. You're getting close to a 3K subs. Oh, yeah, I am. Thank you, Big Tex. Can't you ask around, find a small shop near you like James did? This is a perfect example of a problem that small shop fixed the typos. The problem with that, nailed it, is that when it comes to PACCAR engines, and this is something I found out later because I didn't do enough research, and 99.9% of the shops want to hook it up to a computer, right? Well, there's not too many independent shops that have the PACCAR software. And therefore, a lot of their mechanics aren't trained on the PACCAR stuff. And if I had to go back in time and redo that, I probably would have gotten something with the Cummins. I wouldn't have worried about the collision mitigation system because, Schneider would later resend that, and then, I end up leaving Schneider anyway. So that kind of bugs me because my choices were limited because of the collision mitigation rule that Schneider had implemented at that time. But that's the, Volvo engines are the same way. I remember one time I had to get an alternator fixed on a Volvo, right? And I was there at that Big Cabin shop there in Big Cabin, Oklahoma. And the guy freaked out, man. He opened the hood and he's like, driver, you got a problem. I'm like, what? He opens the hood and he's like, shows me this black box. I can't deal with that. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? It's an alternator, And the head shop guy, he finally like, look, I'm gonna take care of this. It's not a big deal. And it wasn't. They fixed the alternator, but it's like Volvos and PACCARs, just they're kind of the outcast, you know what I mean? You know, Cummins, Cat, and Detroit. That's the way to go. Yeah, Jeff, we were talking about that bonus on level 1 inspections, or level inspections. There's a truck and freight out there for everyone. Take your pick. I just feel it's all about preference. The thing with Volvos, you know, here's what you got to look at. What's the cost? Where do Volvos tend to go have problems? Where do PACCARs have problems at? You look at the history of each engine and you know, and look at what the future cost to fix might be. You know what I mean? It also depends on what company. If you're buying a used truck, what company did that truck come from? You know, how many drivers were in that truck? I know that there were 2 drivers in my truck before me, and the good thing about my truck is that most of the work was done at MHC Kenworth because it was a Prime truck, and you know, Prime's right here in Springfield, right, literally next door to MHC Kenworth. So they had the everything that was ever repaired on that truck that was done at that shop. You know, granted, you know, there were probably oil changes in other places and all that. But anything that was done by MHC Kenworth, I had a 50-page report that the dealer gave me. I know the driveline was rebuilt. So whoever had it probably had a student and just trashed the crap out of it. And lo and behold, I had to replace the clutch. It was more owner-op spec. Had a few custom things. But, you know, it sought a lot of salt, so there's a lot of rust. So a lot of the rubber and plastic was coming off pretty easily. You know, out there in the Northeast is where those Smith transport trucks run, and you know that's hills and snow and salt and everything else. So that's a rough terrain to run in. So it just depends on so many factors. So there's not a one size fit all thing. I agree, Benjamin Duke. If you know better than the person doing it, then why not show the rest of us instead of seeing if the person doing it will let you run their business right? It's against my morals to drive any make truck with a bed behind the seats. David Riverman says, I've heard good things about the new Cummins. Yeah, I have a friend of mine that's got some engineering background, and he has driven in situations there where he's from that puts engines to the extreme, and he just loves the new Cummins, and that's really what I wanted, but you know, I didn't have 10,000 down. They need to come up with a keto pot pie. I don't think that's possible. If it does, it'll taste like crap. Provo says Northeast is awesome, right? You're making money up there. PACCAR is a new 15 too. Ricky Bob says the engines is not the problem, it's the cab structure on the Volvos. You know, here's the trucks I've had, right? As company and owner op. I trained in a 387 with a Cat, and then they put me in a Volvo with a Volvo engine. I hated that truck. And then they put me in another 387 with a Cat for a brief period. Then they put me in a Volvo with a Cummins engine. I like that truck a lot better. And then I had a T660 with a Cummins. And then, of course, they put me in a 680. And then I went owner-op. Then I had a 387 with a Cummins. And then, or no, the first 680 I had a PACCAR. Then I got the Pete with the Cummins. And then I got this truck with the PACCAR. And the Volvo with the Cummins had issues, but it was all electronic. It was all computer related. It wasn't. I did not. The only mechanical failure that I had was the AC compressor went out. So, and that's it. Everything else was all computer glitches and all that kind of stuff. The Peterbilt, not necessarily the computers, but with some of the mechanical, the turbo went out on that truck, and some of that I'm to blame because maybe I didn't keep up on the maintenance as well as I should. But it was my first truck, and these are things that you learn as you go along. Provost, I kind of envy him because he has mechanical ability and people with mechanical ability under him. So like he would probably be able to fix my situation pretty easily and for probably a third of the price. I don't have the tools, I don't have the knowledge, and that's my challenge, I wish I could work on my own trucks, Steve Berger's able to do that now, and Pros can do that, and several others. And I think that's one of the cool things about being an owner-operator is if you have some mechanical background like Jeff, you can get stuff done, fixed yourself on a lot of it. Would it be best to buy the software and cable to hook up to the engine? I know a guy that has a Detroit that did that, and I think if you got I think someone looked into that, and to get it for the PACCAR is like $2,300 for the computer and the software, to be able to read it. But again, I don't. Okay, so now I know what my engine light means. Now I know what the engine's doing, but I still can't fix it. So, seems and that's the thing. It's the shop that did all my work on my Peterbilt. I've begged them. You guys need to get the software for the PACCAR so you can work on my truck. And they're like, oh, I don't know, we can't. It's obvious they didn't want to work on them. I agree with you, Arturo. Logic, what's up? What exactly is owner-op spec? Spooby, usually owner-op spec means that someone ordered that truck and it's got all the bells and whistles or more bells and whistles than, say, a company fleet truck. For example, Snyder, a Snyder 680 is not spec the same as a single owner operator that custom ordered a 680. You're going to get bare bones, bare gauges, and while that works well for, it's like some companies brag about how well they spec their trucks, but a lot of companies give you a stripped down truck and then they're just not as comfortable. They don't have all the bells and whistles, that kind of thing. I have an old 2002 in my shop with a Series 60 in it. Haven't decided if I want to put in a glider in it yet. The engine is still as solid as the day it was made. If it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, that's how I feel about that. Best advice ever gotten, says Arturo, from my dad was to deer pre-trip really well when you're on the road and check things that maybe getting worn and may need replaced so you can do it at home. Right, and and Arturo's World says find a shop that you can trust. That is true, man, because the Kenworth shop here in Springfield, I haven't had any issues with. And when I had my clutch replaced, they've been over backwards to try to save me as much money as they can. You know, like if I went into somewhere, you know, when I was a Landstar driver, I got a Landstar discount. You know, some places give you a discount for being a WIDA member. Some places just don't give you a discount at all. And I think that these shop guys have a little bit of, you know, sympathy because, you know, I remember I was sitting there at the Kenworth and they had just brought up a repair order for another driver. And they're all huddled by this piece of paper, and it's like, oh, is that under warranty? And they said no, and the guy's like, oh man. So it must have been like a huge repair. And so having a shop that you can trust, that is key. And my dad has been going to this Kenworth dealer for, you know, he had been going for years. I mean, that's where his company maintained their trucks, was at that Kenworth dealer. Hey, unknown trucker. Yeah, Pokemon, I got one earlier. That software is subscription based, I have to pay for it. Yeah. I've changed my alternator, condenser, and dryer in the truck stop before, but no oil. Nastic has discounts on everything. Yeah, and you know, and that's what, you know, here's the thing, guys. You know, there's some guys talk about shutting down, right? Shutting down the interstate, shutting down for a weekend and all that, right? And a lot of people blame the government for our issues. You know, the trucking's a heavily regulated industry. Anybody who's ever tried to open a business beyond trucking, whether it be a bar, a restaurant, an auto shop, a body shop, there's OSHA rules, there's you know, fire codes has to deal with. So it's not all free for all, you know. And a lot of the regulations that we have were placed because at one time it was a free-for-all, you know. The old trucks used to have 4 or 5 license plates, and like there was a time where you could have, if you had your license revoked in Arizona, you can get a new license in Missouri as a truck driver. You know, little stuff like that. And protesting the, you know, for attention, here's what attention needs to go to. Fuel, we can't do anything about. You just can't. OPIC controls that. They don't care how many trucks shut down. And the general public will just say, you know, that's cost doing business, you know. But the thing that a lot of people don't realize is that the cost of maintaining and fixing a truck, that is what's hurting most owner-operators. That is what will make or break you. And trucks are twice the price of what they were just, you know, 15 years ago. You know, it used to be that a turbo repair might cost you $1,000, and if you had any kind of mechanical inclination, you could do it yourself. Now, it's a $10,000 repair, and you have to have computers and everything else to do it. That's crazy. So what happens is a lot of these companies, Transland's one of them, you know, and Schneider and all these trucks, what they do is they lease these trucks, right? And they use up the trucks up to the warranty, which is usually 400, 500,000 miles, and then they get rid of them. So if the majority of truck buyers are buying them and using them only in a warranty, how do you think they're going to engineer the parts? How do you think they're going to engineer and design, okay, this turbo is going to be good for 500,000 miles, you know. Why not make it good for a million? Why? Because it doesn't profit you anything. And, you know, there were several car engines in the past, like someone told me the straight six in a Ford was one of the most solid engines that you could get. However, Ford stopped making them because they couldn't make any money off them, you know. So look at the work that mechanics do. 90% of it, or a large percent of it, is warranty work. When you go to a Volvo dealership or a Kenworth dealership and there's 15 trucks in front of you, I guarantee you that 90% of it is warranty work. And then when the trucks are used up warranty, they get rid of them, then they buy new ones. And so you tell me, how are things engineered, you know? And the trucks are literally twice the amount of what they were 15, 20 years ago. You know, what's the new, like those new W9s I was looking at? Easily $180,000. 15 years ago, they might have been 140, you know? Big Rose says I can go on a rant about the whole shutting down and the whole nonsense, but I'm not gonna. You know, here's the thing with the shutting down, okay? Jay Cannell brings up some really good points. And if you don't watch Jay Cannell, he's made the point that you cannot gain the sympathy of the public if critical supplies like medicines or life-saving things, you know, are disrupted because commerce is disrupted because of a trucker strike or whatever, okay? That's not how you get the sympathy of the people. Best actions is kind of behind the scenes. You know, if you want to change what the government thinks about drivers, you have to go into the government. You have to have lobbyists. You have to have people that know how to talk to the senators and the representatives and you know and that kind of thing. You can't have guys flipping people off in the middle of the street, you know, middle of the interstate, you know, and think that he's going to accomplish anything. All it does is, you know, it puts us in a different light. With that being said, a lot of the issues that have been talked about that people want to make a stand about, which is, you know, which is our, you know, is legit. You know, I'm not, you know, saying nothing negative about that, but it may sound weird, but go watch the movie Convoy, okay? If there's a section of that movie where the news reporter is interviewing everybody in the convoy, right? Okay? And what are they talking about? They're talking about government regulations. They're talking about the speed limit. They're talking about fuel. They're talking about taxes. They're talking about all the same issues that we have, you know, in this day and age. If you go on YouTube and look up old trucking documentaries, you're going to see that we've been in the same struggle for the last 50 years. And there's a reason why convoys are illegal. There's a reason why a gathering of trucks is illegal. But the whole idea of going to a parking lot and creating a media attention thing, now that might be a good thing. You know, because then it becomes an event. And it becomes an event that brings attention to national news. And then, you know, but you know, that's kind of what happened in the movie Convoy. You know, it went from, you know, we're running from the cops to now it turned into this big protest. And, you know, and of course, you know, the senator who was up to no good was trying to get their sympathy or whatever. And that's kind of how it has to go. You know, you don't want to shut things down, but you want to make a stand. You want to get noticed. You want to get attention, but you want to do it in a positive light. Now, the other argument is that you know, there's a lot of things that are better now than they were 20 years ago. And but there's always been this struggle with the government, with you know, and I think that the problem is not the government per se. It's the insurance companies. It's all the you know, the cost of running a truck, repairs, parking, tolls. I mean, look what Indiana did with their toll road. You know, and those are the things that should be addressed as well as the regulations. You know, and you know the regulations were there because of all the outlaws, but you know, if the truck manufacturers want to make money off the mega carriers by doing repairs, you know, they're going to keep spiking the money. My insurance is going up, you know, this year, even though I haven't made any claims, I haven't done anything wrong. My truck's probably at a lesser value, but yet my insurance starting in January is going to go up for my truck and trailer. It's the insurance companies and the corporatists that think that it costs $10,000 to repair a turbo. That's the part that puts guys under. I mean, how many drivers do you know went under because of rates? Not because they're running for less than their cost, but it's all about cost per mile. So if your costs are too high and you can't maintain that cost, doesn't matter what kind of business it is. So insurance and manufacturers are making it harder by making that cost per mile go higher and higher. Convoys are not illegal. Big techs, I had heard, maybe I'm wrong. I don't want to be one of those guys that assumes things. But if you have a collection of trucks, more than 6 or 7 trucks, it gets classified as a convoy, and that's illegal. Issue CDL, a man of his word does not what he says he will do. Want to stay home, massive fine, but we don't shut reds down. Right. Big techs. You know, a lot, you know, Jeff Beard agrees with me. You know, a lot of people hate the ATA, but why does the ATA get stuff done? Because they know how to get to the government. They know how to pay the government. I'm keeping my 97 on the whole thing. My net profit is better with this setup. In the niche business I'm in now, less downtime, maintenance lower than any other program. So, you know, here's the thing. Talking about a shutdown in December, okay? And here's the problem with that. There's a lot of owner-operators that are struggling right now because of how low the rates have been, okay? Now, if you look at past history of everything, the cost of running the truck is higher. So we're netting a lot less, okay? But to ask a lot of owner-operators to shut down on the highest, most promising, profitable peak period for trucking between now and, you know, January 1st, that's going to be a hard pill to sell, you know. And then on top of that, company guys just don't have the freedoms that like I do. And while it's kind of a driver's market right now, but there's, you know, if you're flipping burgers at McDonald's and you call in sick all the time, there's like 10 people that are willing to replace you. And so, and a company doesn't think like that, you know. The mega carriers have figured out how to make profit based off of any condition that the market's doing. Did you guys notice that? You know, and here's what I know about both sides of, like, say, Schneider and the spot market, right? Companies like Schneider came in and took a lot of this $3 a mile freight and went to the shippers and say, hey, we can get this done. They went to the brokers as well. We can get this done for less than what you're paying now. And so the Schneider guys saw a rate increase, and the spot market saw a rate decrease, and the volume suddenly go down. And that's why rates started going down a little bit, among other reasons. Kenny Long did a good video about why rates have tanked. And, and they're starting to come back up. So it's an acquaintance of mine, he said that if you can't learn to live off $1.60 a mile, then you're going to have to shut your doors. Now, he didn't say you have to run for $1.60. Get as much as you can. But if you think about this, the Schneider Finance guys have $4,000 a month truck payments. And their average rates that they're doing over there is between $1.40 and $1.70 a mile to the truck. They're making it work. How does that happen? So, are we getting the $3 a mile we were at the beginning of the year? No. On some stuff we are. It depends on who you talk to. There are people that have gotten in good with direct shippers and they're getting a good rate. There's 100 ways to put yourself in survival mode. And sometimes Chrome's got to take a back seat. Sometimes, like I wouldn't have the confidence to buy a brand new truck right now, simply because, I don't know how much of a cost increase I could take. But if the truck starts breaking down, that could put me over the top anyways. So it's all about self-evaluation. What are you willing to do? And one of our contractors here had the second highest profiting month the whole time he's been here in October, when everybody else is complaining about rates. And what did he do? He changed his strategy. And that's what a lot of us have to do. If you have to stay out 2 weeks, you have to stay out 2 weeks. It's about sacrifice. Running a business, no matter if it's trucking or not, is all about sacrifice. Okay? Freedom you have is the benefits you have, the money you can afford to have. All right, Jeff. See you later. The megas are triggered at rookies only. It amazes me when drivers stick around, they don't pay for experience. There was a when companies would reward you well for longevity, okay? Because there isn't a driver shortage problem, there's a driver retention problem. If the turnover rate wasn't so high, they keep drivers, have consistency, continuity, and better service in the whole 9 yards. It's kind of a trickle-up effect. And new guys coming into the business don't know any better. There's a story of a driver I know who was in his first year, and the company he drove for, he picked up a trailer. It had rolls of paper that the brakes had been slammed, and part of the rivets, some of the rivets came out in front of the trailer. And the owner of the company told him to go ahead and take off with it. And he called me and another person that, at the time we were trainers, and we were like, no, you don't move that truck. You don't move that trailer. He didn't know any better, and the company was trying to take advantage of that person, and like there's another person that I know that had an accident at the company, and they didn't fire him, but they know they got him because if he tries to go somewhere else, nobody will hire him because the insurance companies won't let him. But they can pretty much tell him where to go, and unless he quits, he's kind of like not really forced to stay there, but so a lot of new guys are taking advantage of, and that's why you have to educate yourself. And that's hard to do because there's so many different YouTube channels talk about so many different things, and I know people that were thinking about coming into this industry that were turned off by it simply because of the stuff that they're seeing on YouTube and on Facebook and other places. So it's what it boils down to is how bad do you really want it, and how are you going to manage the worst case scenarios. When I bought my first truck, we asked ourselves, what's the worst case scenario? And and the trick is you don't want to put yourself in a situation where you're going to have to file bankruptcy on your house or anything like that, because but I'm also blessed more than some others. But I know people that pay the bills themselves, have to pay health insurance, have to pay everything, and they're doing well at $1.60 a mile. So it's all on how you run your business. So attention needs to be brought to the overpricing of truck repairs, the overpricing of tolls, the overpricing of insurance. That there needs to be attention to that, but you have to find the right ways to do it. Look at what was it Pam or PTL driver sued in Arkansas, and they won. Jay Cannell did a little bit about that, about how now truckers have to get at least minimum wage in Arkansas. They did it through the courts. They used the government to their advantage. You can't. You got to beat them at their own game. That's the most effective thing. Don't get tunnel vision, right, Rican? The Megas cut the cost of insurance, fuel, tires, repairs to do their size. You yourself have said it's set up for broke. It's a job, right? Long Nose, what's up? I just joined an LTL company. It's the way to go. Benefits are great. I'm happy. And for me, being an owner-operator is about running my own business. That's what I like. I like having the freedom that I'm the executive making the decisions. Is there a lot more risk that way? Yeah. But the great thing about being a truck driver is that if I go under tomorrow, I've got a job waiting for me. I know several people that hire me in a minute. And would I be happy? Probably not, because I like being in control. I like, I want to be the one that says where I go. I want to be the one it's not necessarily about banking as much money. However, if I'm not keeping a handle on things, I could go under because of, the cost of the truck. There's a lot of people that rest on oh man, my truck payment's only $600 a month, so I'm gonna run a week and then I'm gonna stay home for 3 weeks. You can't do that. When the rates are really good, you got to run. That way, when it's slow, like it was in October, then you can kick back and you can relax and let the cheap freight sit on the docks. Now, the other thing I'll bring up is this. Last year at this time, rates were through the roof, right? And there was a bunch of factors involved with that. The shippers and the manufacturers figured out, like, you know what? We got reamed last year. So how about we trickle everything? How about we change how we buy our stuff so that shipping doesn't cost us an arm and a leg? How about we do that? And that's what they did. Just like the e-log thing. Everybody freaked out on the e-logs. Pretty soon it was name our price. And then after that, the shippers knew how to deal with the e-logs. The brokers knew how to deal with the e-logs. The drivers knew how to deal with e-logs. And everything settled back down. it's in like say Walmart. It's in Walmart's best interest to not pay $4 a mile for something. So they're going to do the steps that it takes to keep them from paying $4 a mile. If you need to mail a package, and UPS has it for one rate, and the post office has it for another, and FedEx has it for another, you're going to go with the cheapest rate, right? If it's something important, you're going to go with the most reliable, and you're going to pay the extra money. But for a standard package, you're going to go with the cheapest rate. So now, if I'm not giving enough money to say UPS, they're not even going to touch my package. However, I go, well, okay, UPS doesn't want to mail my package unless I give them an extra so many dollars. And so then I have to give it up. But still, I'm still going to find it the cheapest way as possible. So what makes you think that these manufacturers of lawnmowers and mulch and dog food and anything else that's put on a truck, you don't think that they want to reduce their shipping costs? So when the rates were through the roof last year, you don't think that they made adjustments? You don't think that they figured out, you know what, we need to have a strategy to lower our costs, just like truck drivers do. You have to come up with strategies today to lower your cost per mile, right? To lower your cost per day, to lower your cost per month. You don't think the shippers are doing the same thing? You don't think the brokers are doing the same thing? And that's it's all about supply and demand. They figured it out. And guess what? Our volume's down, rates are down. And these people that came out here thinking that they were going to make $3 a mile, guess what? They're having a reality check now. And if you bought your equipment or based your business model on making $3 a mile, you're going to struggle quite a bit. And that's what my friend was talking about when he said, if you can't survive on $1.60 a mile, you will go under. Because unless, this is for generic dry van reefer freight, specialized freight has different costs, but they have different money as well. Dan Nottingham, I saw you hop in here. Can't put a price on. It's about your cost, business, and personal living above your means. It's what kills you at every level. You have to learn your faults and prove yourself in your life. Right. I see, I would love to have a brand new pickup. But I look at a brand new pickup and I'm like, man, that's going to be a stress factor when I'm not making any money. My current F-150, it's paid for. Both of our cars are paid for. And I would love to have a new car or a new truck, and I could go out tomorrow and get one. However, that would bring up my costs, and that would, I would have to stay out longer, and then what's the point of that? Having a car I can't drive. My truck payment, Paul, I'll call you, is $2,500, and I just stayed home 2 months, but I had a ton in my checkings account. Right. Would love the freedom of choosing my own loads, but currently I'm on salary and get paid whether I run or not. That's hard to walk away from. Spoopy, I don't blame you, I heard uship.com is a good one. I have no idea. You have to slip seat at Walmart, no thanks. Diesel Weasel, I agree. Benjamin Duke says you should be working on your plan now for the outcome in a year or two. That is very true. A lot of drivers, including myself, okay, only look at what's in front of them, okay? They only look at what's in front of them. And that could be a problem. There are people in my circle that have made adjustments. They lowered their costs, or they found direct shippers, or they found a way to get consistency. When I was at Landstar, a lot of the guys went to the Walmart accounts, they went to the Averitt accounts, they went to the Power Only accounts, and they survived. They weren't self-dispatching themselves, but they weren't on the low board struggling anymore. They were getting consistent money. And once you could set yourself up to where you're not in survival mode all the time, I think that you'd be a lot happier. It's a lot less stress, and you can make better decisions with a clearer head, and that's a big part of it. Work hard while you can. You can stay home when you can't want. Right. And the problem that I've had is that okay, I'm gonna get my groove on. I'm gonna put my nose to the grind. And then something would happen, like my ankle, and my most profitable month here was a month that I could stay out a little bit, and a lot of people think that okay, when rates are good, I'm only going to do a few loads a week because I don't have to run that many miles. But then they struggle when the rates come down. It should be the other way around. When rates are really good, run your butt off. Make hay while you can. And then when rates are bad, then you can afford to stay home a week or 2 weeks. It's like, oh, let that stuff sit. And then when the rates come back up, you can come back out, put your nose to the grind, and you're good to go. A lot of people have been doing the opposite of that, myself included. So, you got to work hard to save for rainy days. I agree. Benjamin Duke says, Christian Trucker seems to have finally found the niche, what works for his personal needs. I'm glad. And that's the beauty of where he's at. We have that same ability here at Like Trucking. And that's an advantage I have over the Snyder and Landstar guys, is that I could develop a relationship like what Christian Trucker's doing, and to help you through the rainy days. I could always do power only for a company if I absolutely had to, in under Jeff's numbers, and so I have plan B and C, for when things will hit. And things will hit. I mean, we're going to see a slight volume increase in November, and then you'll see a slight rate and volume increase in November and late November and December. But then January 1st, it's going to drop like you've never seen it drop. It will happen. And if you aren't prepared, it will take you down. Plain and simple. That's it. And how do you recognize those when brand new trucks are 6 months to a year on back order, and you're having trouble finding used trucks, and you're having trouble finding new trailers? That means the market is oversaturated with too many drivers, right? The Landstar guys I talked to at the DCs would run it year round if they could. Right, Spooby. Gear Jammer, what's up? Prior proper planning. Right, Rican. Now, I'm not an expert. I barely know what I'm doing. I've got good mentor. And the thing at Like Trucking is we all support each other. We all give each other tips, and we all make our adjustments. We all we all help each other out. And Jeff's a smart dude, and I look at the things that Jeff has. What has he succeeded in? And I try to emulate that as much as I can. And that's what you do. You find someone successful and you emulate them. Some people will look at, some people will look at other YouTubers and say, okay, I think that they're successful, so I will emulate them. And that's fine. To me, it's about a mindset as well. I mean, you could be a very smart business person, but if you don't have the right mindset, you'll still have issues. And it's all about mindset, about not giving up. There is sacrifice. You put yourself in a, like I wouldn't want a high lease payment because I don't want to be a slave to the truck. But in a way, we're all slaves to the truck. Whether you're a company owner, operator, or lease operator, we are all a slave to the truck. And if you have a $5,000 truck repair, you have to fix it. you know. And depending on how well you run your business, how well you plan, or how good or bad your credit is, that determines your struggle. But how do you handle that struggle? What's the mindset that keeps you from going, you know what, I'm done? You know, and I know many owner operators that are on their fourth attempt. You know, they would buy a truck, do it for a year, and then go back to company, and then come back, try it again, go back to company. You know, and there's nothing wrong with that. You learn through your struggles, you learn through your mistakes, you learn through other people's mistakes, and you hang out with the right people that will bring you up, build you up, and help you with the right attitude. And in the end, sometimes that's all you got. When you're broke and your truck's broke down and you're sitting in some shop 600 miles from home, not knowing how much it's going to cost to fix, when you're going to be home, whether you got enough money to eat the next day, the only thing that's going to keep you afloat is the support from your friends, your family, and what you got going on up here. That's it. Sometimes that's all you got. Sometimes all you got is your wits, your perseverance. And there's too many people tearing too many people down for one reason or another. And the reality is we've all gone through the same struggles. And that's about all I could say. I mean, it's trucking is not rocket science, but at the same time, you have to change your mindset. What's the difference between a company driver and an owner operator? They both drive the same vehicle. They both have the same stresses. They both deal with the same customers and the traffic and the BS and the regulations and all that. The difference is the mindset, you know. Company driver will idle his truck all night because he's not paying for the fuel. Whereas the owner operator, a smart one, is going to be like, maybe I don't want to idle all night tonight because he is paying for the fuel. What's the difference? It's you could have an owner operator with 1 year experience and a company driver with 10 years experience, and they're going to have different mindsets simply because of the situations that they're in. So, you know, the 10-year veteran, the company driver, he doesn't care about fuel cost. And so he's not going to care about that. There's a guy that's only been a driver for a year knows that having good fuel efficiency is important. Thank you, Gear Jammer. I agree, Mitch. Spooby, I think you're right, and that's why a lot of guys do that, but it's hard to get on that. Benjamin, you learn how to plan by surviving poor planning or no planning, right? And then realize you need a better plan. It's through struggles that we learn. Ricardo, what's up? When I first started this, I knew I didn't want a $4,000 a month truck payment. So I avoided that. Some people can survive off that. I don't think I could have. I knew that I didn't want to lease on with somebody like Prime. Not that there's anything wrong with Prime, but like I didn't want to be like you know, like Snyder Finance, you can at least take the truck anywhere you want. Whereas, you know, I didn't want to like sit there and like, okay, I got to work for this company for this many years and then the truck's mine, then I can take it wherever I want. I wanted to avoid that pitfall. So I struggled by getting my own truck and not being tied down to a company. And now, I don't think I'm there mentally yet. I would have the best mentor to do that, but at the same time, mentally, I'm not there yet. And why is that? Well, that's something I've got to work out personally. But you know what? Jeff makes it easy to be here. And so it's beneficial for me to stay where I'm at. You know, it's beneficial for me to not get my own authority at this point. Now, for somebody that's worked for another company that has all these different costs associated that I don't deal with, maybe it is time to get your own authority because then your costs aren't much different. You know, that kind of thing. If you notice, well, no, I won't say names again. It's all about mindset. I think that, you know, I'm not the smartest dude. I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer. You know, I don't have the brightest lights upstairs, you know. And I have made mistakes. And the only thing that can keep a person going is mindset, because you're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn things the hard way. You know, like Salty Pirate did a video on reading the rate con, you know. I learned the hard way when I was at Snyder to read my bill of ladings. It cost me 200 miles, you know. And you take from your experiences and you learn from them. And then you talk to other drivers and you learn from, oh man, I heard a guy that did this, and so therefore I don't want to do that myself, you know. And that is how you get through struggle. That is how you learn. You can only, there's a person that texted me, you know, to my old number about, oh, you failed at Landstar. I did not fail at Landstar. I kept my truck. I moved my truck to a better partner. And then I got another truck, right? It's through those struggles at Landstar, though, that have prepared me for the low volume and the lower rates we're seeing now. So while everybody else is freaking out, the sky is falling and just like freaking out because they're not able to make above $2 a mile, I'm sitting there like, I know how to run with lower rates because I've done it. Now, was I the most profitable? Was I the most successful? Was I was the most happiest? No. But that's part of the mindset, is that I took the worst case scenario and I'm like, okay, guess what? That ain't too bad. And that's just how it is. I have plans B, C, and D in place just in case I need them, but I don't. Now, the only thing I'm really worried about is the truck, but I'll get through that. I have plans in place to help with that. And then the other thing that I worry about is my own mindset. I don't want to get too cocky. I don't want to get like, I'll be okay. I used to survive off this much at Snyder. I'll be all right. Don't want to do that because I don't want to like get like surprised. Like, hey, remember when you said you can run for $1.50 a mile? Guess what? You have a $20,000 truck repair. You're done. You know? It's all about mindset and how you go through the struggle. Someone said, Ricardo says, I wonder how much that kind of mindset intrigues me because, you know, I know Yeti and I know Ike. They've put plans in place to make sure that, you know, things, I don't know, the thing that intrigues me is, I don't look at what other, like CPAP does this a lot to himself. You know, he's like, I know I shouldn't have a Snyder Finance truck because my costs are low, but, you know, it works for me. But it's like, I don't care. You know, If Ike's happy and Yeti's happy with their trucks and they're successful with them, that's fine. I know that Yeti put himself in a position where his truck does not cost as much as you think it does. And I think that's the key. If you do get a brand new truck, you need to put situation, have enough money down, have enough of a situation to where your truck payment isn't through the roof. In other words, if you want to buy a brand new truck and you want to keep your payments below $2,500 a month, guess what? You're going to have to put a ton of money down. You know, and whereas Freightliner was ready to give me a truck loan for no money down, they were willing to finance me for 7 years and like close to $3,000 a month for 7 years. That is unsustainable, in my opinion. Even the mega carriers don't do that. And so Getty's a smart business guy. So I'm sure that there are things in place, but I'm not worried about if Ike can pay for his truck or not, because Ike does Ike and I do me. Okay? I want everybody to succeed out here, because the more people that can do better out here, be place to be. You know? I appreciate that, TRC. Thank you, Pappy. No red nose either, right? Okay, so let's look at Life is Good. Okay, he just got off the road, right? And I was having a discussion with James about his, and here's Life is Good. What he did is what a lot of guys at Landstar to make really good money do. They have trade show quality specialized van trailers. You've got the belly boxes for ramps, blankets. You've got E-tracks, you've got lighting, you've got all kinds of things where you can get the more specialized van freight, and that pays a lot more than, say, 42,000 pounds of rolled paper, you know. And hey, hon, your phone's going off. And so I think that he was making good money. So him getting that Peterbilt was probably an okay investment, because he's a smart dude. He's had several trucks, and I think that he was doing well. I don't think he got off the road because he wasn't doing well. But I think a lot of that is because you got to find something that works for you. You know, just like Christian Trucker found his niche. You know, you have to be willing to do the stuff that other people aren't willing to do to get, you know, make yourself invaluable. You know, Christian Trucker just talked about that, about how you need to make yourself irreplaceable. Jake Knell has talked about that. You know, like when the autonomous trucks was a big threat, you know, you have to get acquainted with the side of trucking that automated trucks will never be able to replace. You know, and a lot of guys start, you know, doing dry van, and then like 10 years later they're doing heavy haul and making like 8 times the amount of money. And if having a show quality truck is important to you, then you have to put the things in place to make that situation a reality. You know, the guy who's got a rattle trap with bungee cords, his objections are different than say someone like Ike that's got a nice decked out truck and trailer. And it's the mindset and planning, and it's like, okay, if you want, like, for example, if I want a brand new truck, if I want to go out to a dealership and buy a brand new truck right now, I'm going to have to put things in place to be able to pay for that truck. So if I want one of those nice W9s that were sitting over there, I would have to make a lot of adjustments to the way I run my business to even sustain that. And a lot of people have. I mean, they're a very popular truck. Those W9s are very popular. So it's not like it's impossible to run a business with them. But it definitely presents challenges that, say, someone with a 15-year-old Volvo with bungee cords has. And then I have a friend that says that having a new truck does not actually cost more than having an old truck. Disagree at the same time. And there are guys that trade their trucks in, like the mega carriers, every 3 years to just use that warranty, so they never have that 5-digit number breakdown. Be water, my friend. That's good. I think Life is Good sees a recession coming. Yeah, like I've known Tim a while. I remember, he and I talked a little bit during the Landstar days. He helped me when I was like when I was just a depressed young puppy over there at Landstar. But is getting into truck sales the smartest move? There's a recession coming? Depends. Right, Mitch Hawthorne, I agree. TRC does have a great business model. So if they want to get a truck that looks good and it has a little bit higher maintenance costs, higher fuel costs, then more power to them. And what that'll do is that'll make them a stronger owner operator. I remember a while back, Jeff and I were having this long talk when we were still at Schneider, and I had talked about possibly going to Schneider Finance. I actually gave them a call. I was going to trade my truck in or sell it and get a Schneider Finance truck. And Jeff said that would teach me to run a different way because my needs would be different, and I would have to be smarter. Not he didn't use the term smarter, but you would have to run different, And I tend to run a little bit more relaxed than I should. And that's a fault of my own. And I realize that. You got to have enough humility to be able to sit there and look at yourself and look at what your weaknesses are. And I compare everything I do now with Schneider as far as the rates. And it's in Landstar, and it's a heck of a lot easier to make money at the spot market, even with the current conditions. Now, the 3 o'clock shuffle doesn't exist anymore. I feel that you have to book ahead to make consistent money. And I've learned that. I've learned it the hard way. But I also have my costs low enough that when I have a bad week or when I get my butt handed to me because I'm trying to run short haul and it's just not happening, then it's not as big a deal as if I had $1,000 a week truck payment. And that's the key. And so I don't know the exact cost of what any of the other YouTubers pay for their trucks. He's in a good position. He's going to be okay because he's a smart dude, and he'll be a good mentor to other people working for Jeff. Is that I could call him tonight and say, hey, dude, I could call him and let's say, and I'll say something like, hey, Jeff, I'm really struggling. Can you help me out? I bet you anything within a week he could probably have me at a 4, 5, 6, 7K level. You know, let him dispatch me, and he would make me money. And then he would say, okay, based off your needs, your cost, and what you want, what this, that, and the other, boom. And that's the beauty of work for Jeff. Not for Jeff, but with Jeff, you know. And that's the thing with like trucking. You kind of have to have your act together to even come over here. And but if a person's struggling, he's willing to help. You know, there's a lot of people that he's given advice to, and people have ignored it, and then they fail, and then they blame him for that. You know, that's one of the reasons why I don't give a whole lot of advice anymore, is because people have asked me stuff, and then I told them, and then they didn't do it, and then next thing you know, they're MFing me because they failed because, well, it's everybody else's fault, you know. And the reality is like, well, I told you to look at this, this, and this, and you didn't. But these are my opinions. And if you want to refuse my opinions, that's fine. 4 or 5 different business owners give him advice, and he didn't do any of it, and he ended up going under, and he blames everybody else for their problems. And that, again, goes back to my original point. Mindset is the key, because you could have a truck accident tomorrow that could literally land you in jail or debilitate you. How do you handle that? It's all mindset. You know, you have to have support at home. If your family cannot sustain you being gone a month at a time, you know, that could be an issue if you have to stay out for a month. So, you know, you look, okay, well, I need to build my business to where I'm not a month out at a time. You know, it takes a mindset to do that, and that's what makes a successful person, no matter what kind of business. Even as a company driver, it's a mindset. If you're always MFing your dispatcher and saying that, you know, I had drivers at Transland that would literally come up to me and say, "Man, the safety department doesn't know anything about anything." I don't know, the company's been around for 30 years. They probably know something, you know. Mega carriers are mega carriers for a reason. Sometimes they may not look like they know what they're doing, but somebody somewhere in the company knows what they're doing. And so as a company driver, if safety's wrong and the dispatcher's wrong, the load planner doesn't like me, and meanwhile you're like turning down all these loads, or you're calling on every problem, and you got the Chihuahua syndrome going. That's a mindset. I had 5 different dispatchers at Transland, and there's only one that I did not get along with, and he ended up quitting anyways. And because they looked at me and said, "Wow, Steve's not that hard to get along with. He's never had a problem with his dispatchers. We need to look into this guy and see what's going on." And and that was the only time I had a problem. So it's all about attitude. If you go to a shipper and give them a huge attitude, you think they're going to be motivated to load you? No. And I got there. It's a real bear to check into this place, right? And I got there and I backed in the dock, and this driver, he's docked next to me, and he's like, "Well, I hope you get out your lunch." He just had a real crappy attitude. And he followed me when I went to the forklift guy. I said, "Hey, my dispatcher wanted to know how long it might." The other driver was like, "Well, you got," had this huge attitude with this forklift driver, right? I was out of there within an hour because I was pleasant with this dude that was controlling what was going inside my trailer. Meanwhile, the other guy, they didn't care about him, and they made him sit. So attitude comes is a part of the plan. You're a salesperson, whether you're a company driver, owner operator, talking to brokers, talking to the shippers. You are representing you, and it's a mindset and a level of professionalism that will set you apart from the others. You know, I have brokers that call me and email me every day, every weekday, before freight hits the low boards. It is so easy for me to get out of Missouri. You know, like the other day, James was doing a live feed where he was talking with brokers and everything. And he kept like, oh man, all these loads are going to Missouri. I'm like, dude, come to Missouri, man. I don't struggle to get out of here. And it's taken me, you know, since February to build that up. And it's my relationship with my old carrier that enables me to work off their freight. And then one of the biggest shippers here in Springfield, I'm in good with their broker. She emails me every single day the list of loads coming out of there, and she pays a decent rate. You know, when rates are down, they're a little bit lower. When rates are up, she's willing to pay. If it's a holiday, she's willing to pay. So it takes a certain amount of salesmanship to accomplish that, you know, and that's where consistency comes in. When you don't have to be on the low boards, when you're not mercy to 80-cent mile rates coming out of Florida, you know, developing these relationships and knowing, like having somebody good. One of the strategies that you can implement is like take a dead area, say like Oklahoma City, right? Find the broker that's got the freight out of there. And if you can develop a relationship and get consistent loads out of a dead area like Oklahoma City, well, then when you negotiate a load to Oklahoma City, you can like, well, Oklahoma City is a dead area. And it's not to you, is knowing the people that can help you out of a jam. Anybody can get good freight out of Ohio, Illinois, Indiana. But how many people can get good freight out of Florida? How many people can get good freight out of Denver? Somebody's doing it. So you got to find those people and you got to figure out how to get in there. That way you can make it, you know, you make good money going in and you make more than backhaul coming out. Adam Gallagher, what's up? Food Mooch. Anyways, this is probably one of my longer live feeds. I'm like at James Best level here. And I think my family's probably sick of hearing me talk. So
We never get sick of hearing you talk.
they're good liars. Anyways, I got a video to upload, and my phone just beeped at me and said, dude, you're almost out of power. So guys, thanks for watching. By the way, my podcast, radio, whatever you want to call it, is Sunday nights at 8 o'clock Central. If you like heavy metal, you'll like my show. It's called Pedal to the Metal. It's on bigbellyradio.com, or you can download the app. It's free. It's an easy app to use. I play metal music for about an hour, and it's a lot of stuff that you may or may not have heard. And I think you'll like this week's show if you like metal. I try to find stuff that's unique. I also try to find stuff that, you know, like maybe the satellite doesn't play, or the radio stations, you know, your secular or is that right? The regular radio stations won't play. So like, you know, like Black Sabbath has like 13 albums, but they, you know, radio stations play the same 3 songs. Not me. If you know, like Iron Maiden, same thing. They play the same 5 songs. Not me. Same thing with all the other classic bands and all that. So if you like metal, check out my podcast.
If you don't like metal, you're wrong.
Yeah, if you don't like metal, you're wrong. And this week's show has a song that I play drums on. A lot of people don't realize I also played drums at one time. But it's called Pedal to the Metal. It's Sunday nights at 8 o'clock. You can go directly to the website, bigbellyradio.com, and listen to it from there on your phone. It's a very mobile-friendly site. Or you could download the app. It's free. And tune in at 8 o'clock. Tex Crowley, he has a show. And then George Parker also has a show. And then the stuff that Jay Chase does, it's his deal. But 8 o'clock is my show, 8 o'clock Central, Sunday nights. Tune in. Thanks for watching. I've talked way too much, and I've probably said absolutely nothing. So you guys, keep the shiny side up. And thank you, Alex. And, keep the pedal to the metal. Cheesy. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. See you.